I'm so grateful to go back to work.
That's never going to be my kid.
Never. Yeah, it happens.
Personally, like I'm going through that right now and I'm terrified.
Prepare for every scenario. Always have an extra pair of shorts and underwear. Doing what I'm doing was always the plan. This is probably going to work out, and if it doesn't, then I know I've tried and I can always go back.
Welcome to It Mom Podcast, where it is all about you. And I'm your host, Paulina Perry, and today I'm joined by Diana, who's going to share her motherhood story and journey and how it shaped her purpose and career. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here. You're one of my first guests that came from like an outside community, and I don't really know your story fully, except for some of the prompts that you gave me. So I'm excited to hear it and share it with the audience.
Okay.
All right, so I want to start with a question that I usually start with, and that is, what was your expectation of motherhood before you became a mother? Because you're a mother of two now.
Yes.
And where did that expectation come from, and what did it look like?
Yeah, so my vision of parenting was kind of inspired by the good fortune of kind of having kids a little later in life. So seeing a lot of my friends kind of go through it and seeing some of the trials and tribulations that they went through. Also just seeing, up close and personal with my mom's experience, having, my sister and we were 18 months apart. She stayed home with us. It was a time when there wasn't meal delivery other than pizza, and there wasn't, these like amazing apps to help with your parenting. So she really had a hard time. She was amazing, but I think took a lot of stress kind of into parenting, and I think that had an impact on my sister and I. So when I thought about it, I wanted to be kind of cool and calm. And I kind of expected that I would have easy kids. I don't know why. I think my partner and I are both pretty chill people. And so I kind of expected, we're just going to have, certainly not perfect, but like great kids, really, never having temper tantrums in public, of course.
Of course.
And so, I think we kind of expected it's going to be pretty easy for us.
Yeah. It's funny how we think, like we see some kid, on the floor at a grocery store and we're like, that's never going to be my kid. Never going to happen to me. She must be a bad mother before you have kids, obviously.
Yeah.
And then, or like you're on an airplane and the kid is just like pushing the seat and screaming and you're like, oh, that's just bad parenting. My kids are going to be better. And then you find yourself in that situation. You're like, oh my God, how could I think that? But so like, tell me, how did it actually play out? I mean, you did mention when we chatted previously that, it wasn't as bad, but I want to know, like, how did motherhood actually play out and what surprised you the most?
Yeah, so maybe I'll just give a bit of background. Before I had my first daughter, my husband and I went through about 5, he would say 5, I would say 6 years of infertility. And so what I find really interesting about having gone through that, to be honest, I found that experience so much harder than parenting because of kind of the unknowns. Like I think with parenting, there's still unknowns and there's still variables that you can't control for, but things evolve. And there wasn't that certainty with infertility. And so I think, now being in it and, having, again, kind of, I see the infertility as a bit of a blessing because I really, you made this point earlier, like I really, really love my children. I don't think I love them more than someone who didn't go through infertility, but I really appreciate them and I try to kind of savor those moments, which has really had an impact on my life now. But yeah, they're pretty good kids. We've been pretty lucky.
Well, I mean, I totally hear you because I feel like a lot of women go for infertility. It's just not a lot of women talk about it because we choose as women to have kids a little later so that we can have a bit of a career and, we all want to be successful and realize ourselves in life. It's a different time. But it is important to talk about that because not everybody gets to have kids in the end, right? Or they do, but it's not as easy as they thought it would be. So before we kind of jump into parenthood and how it played out when you had your first child, how was that journey? Walk me through it. So you said it was 4 years?
It was about 6, kind of from the point we were married to trying.
Until you had your baby.
Yeah.
So you said there was a lot of uncertainty and I would imagine anxiety about the process, but share a little bit more of that experience for anyone who's going through it right now, and maybe what helped you to get through it and to keep that hope.
Yeah, okay. Contextually, some of when I went through IVF, it was during the pandemic. So, I think a lot of people that go through infertility probably experience I get an invite to my best friend's baby shower. What do I do? So there was a lot of kind of coping strategies that I had to develop in being happy for people, but also being really sad for myself. I did find I lost a lot of myself, but again, when I come back to that point I made about, okay, my mom really struggled and I noticed I had some kind of unfinished business to deal with before I wanted to become the parent I wanted to be. I looked at the infertility as almost an opportunity for me to kind of better myself before becoming a parent. So, for example, I did a lot of therapy. I actually worked with a hypnotist, which sounds kind of kooky, but he was referred to me by a social worker that actually ran a support group through the Mount Sinai Fertility Group. And I don't know if it's true, if it really worked, but he helped me work through some of those feelings, those emotions of jealousy and sadness. And, when you're going into an embryo transfer in the hopes of getting pregnant through IVF, we did some hypnosis and I actually became not disengaged from the result, but I was calmer about it. And I was more accepting of whatever was going to happen. So I think just, I also didn't let myself go too far into what is my life going to be like as a parent. So I started thinking about my career. If I become a parent or if I don't, what do I really want? I actually worked with a career coach and kind of got a little bit more clarity on that front. And then, I think just kind of continuing to play sports, continuing to see friends, continuing to go on dates with my husband. I'd say that was the worst part. It really deeply affected our relationship. And so just finding ways to continue that hope together. He was amazing. I think if you're going through it, hopefully you have a supportive partner, because that's
because it can consume you. I would imagine it's a tough process to go through physically and emotionally, and it certainly could be absolutely taxing on the relationship. What are some of the things? So you said continuing doing all of your day-to-day activities that you do before. I love what you said about kind of planning for both case scenarios, because I think that always helps. My mantra is always hope for the best, prepare for anything and everything, i.e. the worst.
That's a good one.
Because that really gives you, an opportunity to look back and be like, well, I was prepared for everything and anything, right? But you're still kind of manifesting the best case scenario. And I really love the part where you said that you were working on yourself, because parenting is, you need to be self-aware when you bring another life. And a lot of times we go into it without a lot of therapy or without a lot of understanding of what's happening inside us. I certainly started the therapy journey. I think I've been very self-aware and, worked on myself before kids. But now that I have kids, I am actually evolving as a person. But my question is, when you mentioned how taxing was in the relationship and all of these tools, was there anything specific that you did for your relationship to kind of stay strong?
I think we were really lucky that we had the means to, go on vacations at times when things were kind of really tough, or between lulls in IVF cycles. Definitely relationship, like couples counseling was a necessity, and just kind of going out and having fun. So we were still, we had kids in our late 30s, but we were still partying like we were 20, 25 sometimes. And I think sometimes that was a bit of a release valve for us. Though it's funny, like the next morning we'd kind of be like, oh man, I'm so sick of this. I just want to have a kid. Yeah. So I don't have to do this anymore. So yeah, but I think us just kind of maintaining that connection. And again, like continuing to kind of pursue individual goals, like with our careers and things, so that we were kind of being our best selves for the relationship and for hopefully our future family.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's great advice and great tools, because I think a lot of people that are listening to it, and hopefully not, but maybe going through the same experience could be using what you just shared. Okay, so, and when you finally had your daughter, right?
Yeah.
Your oldest daughter, tell me more about that. How did that play out? So obviously you already mentioned that you had a lot more appreciation because you went through the journey of infertility, but how did it play out for you in terms of like motherhood and learning the ropes and understanding and kind of navigating this whole new experience?
Yeah. So I'll share something. We had kind of our first pregnancy, I found out the first day of the lockdown in 2020. And we found out we miscarried that baby a month later in April. And so we eventually wound up getting pregnant almost 2 years later. So February 2022, we found out we were actually in Hawaii when we found out. It was like on Valentine's Day. It was like, you can't write this stuff. Like it was amazing. And so when she finally came, when I saw my niece and nephew that were actually kind of born around the same time our kind of 2020 baby would have been born, in a way I was kind of obviously sad but grateful for the fact that I didn't have to go through that experience of becoming a new parent in such an already isolating experience in 2020 and 2021. And so because of that and the joy of just getting through the other side of the rainbow, or whatever the saying is, I remember bringing her home. My husband and I were snipping at each other. We're trying to figure out how to use every single product under the sun. And we kind of paused and we were like, A, let's not kill each other tonight. And remember, we're on a team. But B, look who's here. This is the best. And so I try to kind of bring that in, and I think that has really shaped my experience as a mother. So on mat leave, I was like joining every single mother's group, every single exercise group, because I could, because they were happening again in 2023. And so, I think I was hyper social, which I think allowed me to create community, to be a part of community, to really kind of learn how to parent through community and with a partner. But there's like the East End Mom Friends community and a bunch of other communities like that, the Mommy Connections. And so I think just being in those groups, I kind of found my like sister wives, like the people that really allowed me to be who I was and kind of, just relax as a parent.
Yeah, and also provide a support. Like we're not really meant to raise children in nuclear family, and this is what happens these days. So it's just you, your partner, and your kids. We are meant to have some kind of a village. Yeah. So it's nice when you can create it for different communities and connect with people. Like I had my daughter during COVID.
Okay.
So and I also had like a miscarriage, and then I got pregnant maybe like a month after it. Oh, wow. So there was a lot of anxiety throughout pregnancy. And on top of that, the world was shut down. Right. So like I couldn't really connect with people personally about my experience and what I'm going through. And then when I had her, like I couldn't go to like yoga classes or meet with other moms, like everything was closed.
Exactly,
and I think even like her as a baby, that affected her because she wasn't socializing with kids from an early age. So certainly adds to the anxiety, and I hear you, and I'm sure that whoever had kids during COVID can attest to that.
For sure.
But it's, you know, it's great to hear that you were able to build that village.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more in like terms of what happened next and how you helped yourself maintain that like positive outlook. Any strategies that you use to be a better mom? Again, building community. So you already mentioned that you joined all these groups, you talked to mom, you were hyper social. Anything else that you did that could potentially help other moms that are going through that experience?
Coming back to, you know, the supportive partner piece, he and I are really fortunate that we both see the benefit of us having lives together, and so having date nights, having the ability to kind of like have individual time, go see our friends, go on, you know, weekends away and things like that. And so, you know, and parents that are kind of like supportive of that as well. I guess it's funny, I picked up a new hobby after having my second child. I picked up tennis, and I've been playing, you know, by the water all summer, and last summer I suck, but I'm learning. And I still go paddleboarding. I still kind of bring a lot of the identity, like the things that I used to do. And also, you know, with my professional side of things, I really found it important to kind of like get back to like, who is Diana as a professional? Maybe it's because I had a stay-at-home mom who, by the way, went to teachers college when I was in grade 9. So she like started a career just later. I love what I do. And so being able to kind of jump back into that sooner really just gave me back that reminder of like, oh, I can actually have both. I can actually be an awesome mom who's grounded and a career and kind of do meaningful work that I really love to do.
So let's talk more about that, because I know that your second was born pretty close.
Yeah.
So what's the age gap?
So they're 15 months apart. So we thought, oh, there's no way that we're going to get pregnant naturally. We went through years and years of IVF. Like, there's no way. My daughter Georgia was lucky number 7 embryo transfer. Like, so we were just like, there's no way. 6 months after having Georgia, I took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant with our second daughter. So, yeah, it happens.
The universe works in mysterious ways.
It was crazy, yeah. And we honestly, like, being on maternity leave while pregnant was the wildest experience, because I also get I never know how to pronounce it, but I get HG, which is like you throw up and you're sick the entire pregnancy. I had it both times. So having that while on maternity leave, I was so grateful to go back to work.
Yeah. So when did you go back to work? So you got pregnant during a maternity leave, so 12 months have passed. Did you go right back? Or?
I had to go back a month early because there's like I can't remember, 16 and a half weeks or something.
That you have to work in order to qualify.
Yeah, to re-up your EI. So I had to go back a month early. We had to scramble and find daycare. And then I went back for literally like, I think I had to be back for 16 and a half weeks. I think I went back for 18, including vacation. Like, it was not a long time.
So where did you work at the time? What did you do?
Yeah, so I worked at the Rotman School of Management at U of T. I worked with a lot of kind of early career and kind of mid-career professionals in a variety of programs there at the business school as a career coach. So I worked with them, career and leadership. So yeah, I worked with them in kind of like job search or kind of like planning their career transitions, helping to kind of strategize a bit on that, and then building leadership strengths, building kind of like what is my professional identity. So
Yeah.
really awesome work. I really, really love that work.
Well, from what I know, you continue doing that. It's just kind of evolved. So let's talk a little bit about that and how your career has evolved, because it looks like you really been devoted to what you do. You love what you do prior to having kids, and you continue to do a very similar thing, but now it took a new form. So let's talk about that and how, you know, 2 kids have shifted your career and kind of your purpose and what you do now.
When I went back to work between maternity leaves, very briefly, what I realized is what I said earlier about you can have both. You can, but then you're making a sacrifice often for you. And many moms do this. I'm very fortunate that my partner is kind of earns enough that we can kind of, I was able to scale back my income a little bit to trial something. And so basically I put my second daughter in daycare early. I was planning on taking a longer mat leave. And I said, why don't I just see? I've been actually running this private practice in kind of career and leadership coaching for about 9 years. Just like on the side of my desk, like taking clients here and there, like ad hoc. But I was like, what if I really kind of tried this? And baby's in daycare, she's okay. I can start taking clients. And I started in January, and what I realized is, yes, I can do this. I love it so much more. And the difference for me is the work at the business school is kind of repetitive. It was amazing, but it's like I did it for a long time. I felt like I'd kind of maxed out my potential, whereas the work that I do now, it's more dynamic. I'm able to help people in not just kind of like, oh, I need help kind of refining my career or job
My
searching.
resume,
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a new mom and I really don't identify with the values of my former role. How do I shift into this new space that I don't even know what it is yet? And so it's just more deeply meaningful to me. And I'm doing it kind of full time now, and it was scary. It took me, I think, 5 months to 6 months to like really commit to the decision of resigning, because it's like I had a pension, I had, you know, this, you know, predictable pay, whatever.
Stability.
We also bought a house. So it was like, oh yeah, we doubled our mortgage and I don't have a salary anymore. It was a terrifying time. But you know, the business is going pretty well. It's still early stages, but I'm really proud of what I've accomplished so far. And again, like I get to do work where I can help people, and again, in a more like deep, meaningful way. So it's awesome.
Well, kudos to you, because now you're not just helping people to shape their careers, but to shape their purpose, I would say, right? Because a lot of times when you have these major career shifts, specifically if you're a new mom and you don't identify with your previous values and everything has shifted. I mean, personally, like I'm going through that right now. And this podcast is part of it. And I'm terrified because I also have a great job, and, you know, I enjoy what I do, but I also know that there is an opportunity to do more meaningful work and to help people and to, you know, connect with people on a different level. So I love that. I think that's very brave of you, specifically in this like new phase of life where there's so much responsibility.
When I went back to work and I was like, I just don't see how I can be coming back to like the parent I want to be. How can I be? Because I was noticing I was like, had a shorter temper. I was more frustrated more easily. I was stressed out just trying to make dinner. And now, I mean, sure, things are stressful. I have 2 toddlers at home, but I have more time. And I could block off my schedule. Like, okay, Monday I'm doing, you know, meal prep or whatever it is. So I have that flexibility that when you work a 9 to 5, you just don't always have, unless you're kind of like cheating the system a bit, which we all do.
Well, I want to know more about like the feelings you went through, because obviously you mentioned that it's quite scary. So much of your identity is attached to what you do, and working for like a large company provides you with that kind of not just the stability, but the status, right? And then once you get out of it, there's a lot of thinking, oh, what are people going to think? You got to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
You got to put yourself on social media, or you have to start advertising yourself in communities or things like that, which could be scary, specifically when you're at a certain stage in life where you've already accomplished so much and you're like, well, so did you feel in any way kind of scared, or what challenges did you experience through the journey of starting your own thing?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm reflecting on the experience of becoming a mom and the experience of kind of like growing my business, and I think confidence really played an important role. Sure, I was scared, but I think ultimately I was very trusting of the fact that this is probably going to work out, and if it doesn't, then I know I've tried, and I can always go back. And my employer reinforced that to me. And it's funny you mentioned about the status, because part of the reason I always wanted to work at Rotman back in the day was because I knew that was going to give me a little bit more credibility for when I ran my business. Doing what I'm doing was always the plan. I became a coach. I got the job at Rotman. I knew what I was doing. I made lots of contacts. I have a very robust connections in kind of multiple industries because I knew I was going to do this. And so I think when I was on maternity leave and I was having conversations with other moms and mom groups and stuff, and I was like, I am really good at this, and I know I can do this. So it's trusting my gut. And again, I'm like really pumping up my partner's tires here, but he works in a client service profession as well, and so he did like the back of the napkin math, and he was like, I think you could be very profitable at this. Like I think, but most importantly, he believed that I could do it.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it reinforced my confidence.
Yeah.
And like, I think his back of the napkin math might take some time, but I think ultimately, just knowing that, okay, I've got this, and here's what, I'm always kind of a problem solver, and I think that's actually what the infertility experience and the parenting experience has taught me, is like prepare for every scenario.
Yeah.
Always have an extra pair of shorts and underwear for children, not myself, in a diaper bag.
Sometimes you gotta have it for yourself. Like if I'm traveling, I have like a spare t-shirt.
Yes.
Because I know somebody's gonna put food on it and I'm gonna be covered and stuff. So like,
that's a good point.
Sometimes
that's
you gotta
airplane shirts you always need. But yeah, like so I always kind of planned for the unexpected, and like, yeah, when there's lulls, I haven't been in business that long, so the lulls happen, and then you try to figure out, okay, what can I do with my time to make the most of this time to increase likelihood of more clients? Or, I've been thinking about the status thing. I've been thinking about, okay, so what are other companies I could partner with, maybe that have that cachet, that maybe more of a cachet than what Rotman had. So, yeah, I'm definitely kind of always noodling. I'm always on calls with different people, exploring different opportunities, and I think that's what kind of maintains that confidence for me.
Well, I think you're one of the lucky ones who always knew what they want to do, and I think that a lot of women don't. We're not that lucky. Even like I consider myself not that lucky in a sense that I always knew what I was good at, but I never knew what it is that I could make my thing. And I've tried so many different things, and I've spoken to many women, and a lot of them actually find themselves after having kids because they kind of like distill that one thing that they really want to do and that they're good at. But I want to hear more about, the clients that you consult that come to you and that transition, because obviously there's hormones, there is, financial responsibility, there is this desire to spend more quality time with your kids and be present with them, because that's what you realize very shortly after having kids. You're like, okay, I can go back to work, but then I'm not really present and I'm missing chunks of time. That's how I felt. Like I missed first 4 years of my daughter's life because I was trying to do it all and be successful at work, but also like trying to be a good parent. And okay, well, how do I do it all but not? Like it's very challenging to kind of arrive to that equilibrium. So what do you give them? Maybe you could share one of your secret tools here, that when you work with these women, what are some of the maybe exercises or questions you ask them to identify what it is that they could potentially do? Because I would imagine they come and say like, I don't want to do what I already do, but I don't know what I want to do. So like, what are the ways that you identify?
I had the good fortune of going through this experience myself. So before becoming a coach, I worked in marketing for many years and didn't want my boss's job and didn't want that job when I had kids. So I kind of had that itch of like, I know what my partner does and he works a lot of hours and sometimes is traveling. And so when I thought about, okay, I was basically guided by what type of parent do I want to be? And then what type of career can I have as a result of that? What fits in those boundaries? And not to sound so archaic about it, but like that ultimately was kind of what drove me. And so in working with her, I did a lot of work, and this is work I do with my clients as well, which is we take a step back. So we look at, what are you good at? What are skills that you've developed that you like using? What are skills that you've developed that you don't like using? So for me, that was like project management. I hate it. I can do it. I've developed the skill, but I really don't like doing it. And it's best that I not do it. What are skills that you think you want to develop? Or when you think about areas of where you could go, what feels like a natural thing that you could develop? Or maybe we come back to that. So we build out what's called a career profile summary, and that gives a client a really clearish view of what they're good at, what their personality is, what could work within that personality, what values have shifted. To me, that was the light bulb moment when I initially went into marketing because I wanted to do like creative work and work with clients. And I remember, I'm not kidding, the Mel Gibson movie, What Women Want, was what inspired me to go work in advertising marketing, like ridiculous. And so my values had shifted, and I had identified with my coach that it was to help people. But she drilled down with me, and this is what I do with clients, to like, okay, well, what could that look like? Because in marketing, I was doing like a lot of pharmaceutical advertisements and tools, and so building like a chemo website to help chemo patients, which in theory is helping. But I wanted to do kind of like meaningful one-to-one eye contact helping, making a difference in an individual's or team's life. And that's what she helped me articulate, and that's the type of work that I do. And without having that knowledge, you're right, like you can't really know what you could do. You kind of have a sense of like, oh, and like, I'm not kidding, ChatGPT is an excellent resource to say like, hey, this is what I do, here are some skills of mine, like what are some ideas you have of things I could do? I remember there's this book called Do What You Are, and it's like a Myers-Briggs rooted book. And it was kind of helpful. It gave me ideas of like, again, based on my personality type, what are some of the career paths that could make sense for me? So I do a lot of work. I do kind of like a program with folks that are really not sure, but know what they don't want. And we kind of work through that stuff. So part of it's like individual work, part of it's like when we're coaching, I'll like notice things and notice connections or inconsistencies, and that's kind of the role I play.
And would you say that a lot of women that come to you that had kids want to transition into helping people? Because I notice that a lot. But I want to hear from you if that's something that you're noticing or not.
I think it's certainly a theme. I can't say I've noticed it overtly, but it's certainly generally like a part of motivators, right? If I want to be a better parent and I want to have a career that's maybe more aligned with me being more present, sometimes that does result in, yes, I want to be kind of in something more in the helping theme. For others, I guess it's all over the map.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like that would be a theme that I've noticed. But like I said, some clients are just like, they want to go back to school and they want to work in UX design. So there's like a totally kind of
totally
mishmash.
different career.
Yeah, but again, like those, the root of why they want to make those changes, to your point, is often, I like making an impact with people.
Yeah.
So that's maybe the thing.
Or doing something that I love.
Yes.
I've always explained that phenomenon because I've met a lot of women that started businesses after having kids and completely shifted in terms of their careers and what they do and their purpose. And I've always explained it that, you know, once you have kids, you step into the we era of your life where it's no longer just about you. And now, because it's we in the family, that kind of starts, you know, trickling into everything else. And then you're we in terms of team, in terms of community, in terms of the world. And you're like, well, I just want to, you know, help people and create some value for the world. I mean, those are like grand dreams, but a lot of times I feel like that's where we come from as women, at least the women that I met that shifted. So do you have any specific maybe examples or stories that you could share of your clients that went through that transition?
Yeah. One that I can think of that is kind of we've just wrapped things up, but we're continuing to work together, which is exciting. This is a client who had her first baby, went back to her job. I won't share any personal details, but went back to her job for maternity leave, and it was too much to what we were talking about. It was not sustainable. She wasn't set up for success. The role, the experience of returning made her realize, I can't do this long term. And this was kind of like, it's so interesting to me because she works in a similar field that I used to work in. And I was like, oh man, I wish she had that light bulb moment that I had before I had kids, but she didn't, and that's okay. And so we started working together quite quickly after she went on leave. So she went on medical leave shortly after returning from her mat leave. And so she knew she didn't want to do what she was doing. And our work together was really around the foundation of kind of then what could this look like? And is this new area a risk of this happening again? And how do we kind of prepare for that as much as we can, right? Like, you know, when you're in a job interview, you only know so much about like what the experience is going to be like, what the culture's like. Yeah. So I'm working with her right now. She's gone back to her role and is actively interviewing. She's a star. She gets a lot of interviews. And I foresee her making a move quite soon into a different but related space. And it's a space to her that feels like it's going to give a bit more balance. We'll see. But that's, you know, been so beautiful to see, you know, her confidence come up from, you know, being on leave and being really scared and, you know, not sure that she can even work at all, to now kind of coming into a space where she feels really empowered and prepared this time.
Probably excited again.
Yeah, which I think is showing up in the interviews, which is great. So to be continued.
Is there anything specific that you advise your clients to look for in these interviews? Because as you mentioned, you don't always know the culture, and a lot of times when women go back to their employer and it's too much to handle, the fear is that no matter where they go, it's going to be very similar, and they will have to go into that mode of survival mode, pretty much. So is there anything specific that we can look for when we're interviewing and looking for jobs that could be the indicators over healthier culture, of more acceptance and resources for women, because that's important too, right? Like hybrid, I guess, would be a big one, because you want to have that opportunity to work from home. Your kids get sick, like you can't really work 5 days from the office when you're a mom, because then you'll have to exhaust all of your vacation days on sick days of your children, and that's just not sustainable for your well-being. So what are some of the other things that they may be looking for?
I think getting to the interview stage leaves it too late, in my opinion. So part of what I do is a lot of kind of like networking strategy, whether it's folks that I can connect people with, or taking a look at like who's in their community and who can we kind of tap to support them, to talk to about, oh, you know, I work at this company too, and this is kind of what it's actually like, so that they come in prepared. And then when you come into the interview, you know, coming back to that confidence piece, trusting that I'm the right person for the job, in my opinion, and based on the colleague who works there's opinion. And I'm going to be kind of clear on what my boundaries are in the interview, you know, in the onboarding, in the offer negotiation, in the job. And so, you know, I do a lot of work with clients on kind of like, what do the boundaries look like now that I'm a parent? And how does that translate into a role? What are some tactical things that I can do? You know, block your Outlook calendar to be from 9:30 to 4, or whatever it is. But like having pieces that just allow you to have a bit more control and transparency around, I'm a working parent. I need to drop my kid off or whatever it is, and this is my priority, and there are going to be sick days. And so building that in, but being proactive about it.
Yeah, and having a realistic expectation right off the bat, right? Because when you start at a company and you don't have kids and you operate at a certain level, the expectation is high. Not to say that you can't operate at that level when you have kids, but at the same time your priorities shift. So you may not want to travel as much. You may not want to do calls after hours. You may not want to do your emails at night because you've been in meetings all day. And that's what I found, because you set your bar. It might not even be your employer. You might be very ambitious and productive, and you set that high bar, and then you have kids, which adds a lot of mental load and just day-to-day things that you have to do and carry in your brain. And then you go back to work, and on top of that you put that unrealistic kind of high standard that you've developed prior to children, and you're trying to still be at that level. Your employer might not even ask for that, but you want to be, because you're kind of competing with your old self. And I think we don't give each other, like, we don't give ourselves enough grace to kind of be like, hey, I am doing so much more outside of work now, so I have to kind of rethink where my bar is and stop competing with my old self when I was in my 20s, traveling and not sleeping, and then pulling, you know, all-nighters and whatnot. So that's a tough one that I find, and certainly experience for myself coming back to work.
And that's something, I think, that's where I think there's a bit of like the system's a bit broken. Like, I think companies should actually be taking the responsibility to re-interview folks who are not re-interview, but like have conversations with returning employees to understand, oh, this is a new person. And how is that new identity? Because it's, your values have shifted, but your identity is totally different. So there was a pie that was like 90% career and 10% friends and partner and family, and now it's like 40% career.
I love that. That's a good visual.
So I think just, you know, I'm partnering with someone right now, and we're kind of looking at ways to kind of get into like the corporate mindset of like, how can we actually like shake up the system a little bit? Because it's like, the onus is a bit on the returning mothers or parents, but what about employers, and how are they addressing? They can't, because there sometimes is the expectation that, oh, same old Diana's coming back and she's going to hustle and she's going to do evenings and weekends, and that's fine.
Well, first of all, even if you were the same, in a sense, like you could handle the same workload, you come back after 12 months, at least 12 months in Canada, maybe not as much in the US, but you come back after 12 months of being home and doing a lot of physical work rather than like mental strategic work. Not to say that it's not important and not hard. Very hard. Much harder sometimes than working at the office. But like, people don't realize that it takes time to like warm up and get back into the groove of things. Your brain doesn't work the same. I find like my brain doesn't work the same. It gets overheated faster. It's like an overstimulated engine in a way. So like you have to fuel it better. You have to do a lot of different things that you didn't have to do prior to kind of maintain sanity and the resource to do your work. So that's one thing. But then what happens is they keep the job for you. And you have to come back to the same role. They can't really change it or offer you a different role a lot of times because that's illegal. So that's not just the employers, it's also the legal system that kind of feeds that trend of like, okay, well, you have to keep the job, which makes sense because the person doesn't want to lose their job while they're on maternity leave and somebody else taking that job. But at the same time, when you go back to the same job, it can be very challenging. And I know a lot of stories and, personally experienced that you would come back and then you get like promoted, you get more responsibility and it just throws even more pressure onto you. And this is why a lot of women go back to work. And as you mentioned, I go on a leave. This is not the first story I heard. And certainly something I can, attest to personally as well. I've had that experience of like complete burnout. So I think it's really good advice what you were sharing in terms of rethinking what it is you could do even in your company. Sometimes you don't have to change your profession, but you might have to change your role and go from like sales to marketing and shift from like hardcore business development and sales to account management. These are very similar things, but they require different output in a sense. You don't travel as much, there's not a lot of social engagements with your customers at nights and things like that. So maybe even that could be helpful for people to reevaluate where you want to be. All right, I think with that I want to wrap it up, and I'm very grateful that you came and shared your story and what you do, and honestly, kudos to you for the bravery of like starting your own thing at such a big phase of your life. There's so much going on, and here you are trying to help other people and help them find their place in the world and their new careers. So where can people find you if they want to connect with you directly?
So find me on LinkedIn, Diana Byers, Instagram, Diana Byers Coaching. I'll share my links for the podcast, but and then I'm going to be launching a return to work. We haven't finalized the name, but we're thinking something like Momentum.
Oh, I like that.
So partnering with a psychotherapist to support moms on maternity leave returning to work. So keep your eyes open for that. But it's been a real pleasure chatting with you today.
That's great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in for this episode. I hope you liked it. And if you did, please like and subscribe. I would also love to see you as a part of our community. You can join my personal Instagram page at Paulina Perry or at It Mom Club. Or if you want to learn more about this podcast or myself, you can visit us at itmomclub.com. I will leave all of the details about the guest in the description box under this podcast episode.